Welcome to Soras's classes. In this video, I will be solving the following question from ISS 2017 paper 4. Now here we have to write the silent features of Indian censuses 1991 and 2001. So let's start with the silent features of Indian census 1991. Now the silent features are number 1. The first one is the information regarding the age of marriage was collected for males too. So information regarding age of marriage, age at marriage was collected for males also. Was collected for males also. Next is that for the type of educational institute being attended by a person, vocational, other institute and literacy center were added. So the type of educational institutions being attended by a person were added. That is, the vocational or the other institutes and literary centers, they were added. Next is that a new question to collect information on total or partial disability was canvassed. So, a new question to collect information on total or partial disability was canvassed. Next is that the question on seeking and available for work was also canvassed for the marginal workers, and question on secondary work of the main workers was dropped. So, question on seeking and available for work was canvassed for marginal workers and question on secondary work of the main workers was dropped. Question on secondary work of main workers were dropped. Was dropped. Next is that the New question on distance traveled by a person to his or her workplace, and also the mode of travel was canvassed for the persons engaged in non-agricultural activities. So next is that for the persons engaged in non-agriculture activities the question on the distance traveled and the mode of travel to reach his or her workplace was also canvassed. That is, for the persons who are engaged in non-agricultural activities, the question on the distance traveled to reach his or her workplace and the mode of travel used to reach their workplace, they are canvassed. Next is the sex-wise information. Sex-wise information was collected for the children born alive during last 1 year. So sex-wise information was collected for the children born alive during last 1 year. Next is the net area of land under cultivation or plantation and the net area of irrigated land was also collected for those households who were engaged in cultivation or plantation in Part 3 of Household Schedule. So, the net area of land under cultivation or plantation and the net area of irrigated land was collected for those households that were engaged with, or for those households who were engaged in cultivation and plantation, cultivation and plantation in Part 3 of Household Schedule. In Part 3 of Household Schedule. Household Schedule. And the last one is that for the first time the provision was made in the household schedule for taking signatures or thumb impression of the respondent. So for the first time provision was made in household schedule for taking signatures or thumb impression of the respondent. So these are the silent features of Indian census of 1991. Next are the silent features of Indian census of 2001. So the silent features are, the first one is that the question on number of separate bedrooms for married couple has been dropped. So the first one is that the question on number of separate bedroom for married couple has been dropped. For married couple has been dropped. Next is that a new question on availability of computer or laptop with or without internet facility was included. A new question on availability of computer or laptop with or without internet facility was included. Internet facility was included. Next is mobile phone was added with telephone facility. Mobile phone was added with telephone facility. Next is that the question on availability of latrine was further divided into two parts: latrine within premises and type of latrine. So the question on availability of latrine was further divided into two parts, was further divided into two parts. First is latrine within the premises. Within the premises. And next one is type of latrine. Type of latrine. And a separate code was included for public latrine, and a separate code was included for public latrine. Public latrine. Next is regarding the source of drinking water. Tap water was split into tap water from treated source and tap water from untreated source, and separate code were given for covered and uncovered well. So tap water was splitted into tap water from treated source and tap water from untreated source. And for wells also separate codes were given. Separate codes were given to covered and uncovered well. To covered and uncovered well. Next is that separate code for other. Separate code for other was introduced under 6th column. Was introduced under 6th column. Then instead of one code, two separate codes were given to divorced and separated. So two separate codes were given to divorced and separated instead of one. Next is the date of birth was also recorded in addition to age. Date of birth was also recorded in addition to age under SC/ST. under SC/ST, only the name of caste or tribe was collected. Only name of caste or tribe was collected. Next is that the question of disability was further divided into three subparts: mental retardation, mental illness, and multiple disability. So the question on disability was further divided into three subparts. Question on disability was further divided into three subparts. Next is that under the question of status of attendance of educational institution, separate code was given for special school for disabled. So separate code was given to special school for disabled. Next is that for rentiers, separate code has been given under non-workers category. So for rentiers, separate code was given under non-workers category. So for rentiers, separate code was given under non-workers category. Next is that under the question travel to place of work, one-way distance from residence to place of work was collected. So one-way distance from residence to place of work was collected. From residence to place of work was collected. And next is that under the question of migration, only the names of district, state and country were collected. So under the question of migration, names of district, state and country was collected. State and country were collected. So these are the silent features of census of 2001.